There's few things in this hobby that make me rethink or that make me kind of like experience this like childish joy that I had like the first time that I flew. In recent days, things like the DJI system have kind of made me start to think back on that and to think back on that excitement that I had when I first flew. And another thing that's come along that's kind of made me have that same thought process is the Emax Interceptor. It's not something that I expected, and it wasn't like a planned, like, you know, it's just a toy. It's especially even a toy grade thing. But having everything ready and just setting it down and going for a rip across my garage floor, like, makes me smile. And for that, I needed to take a second to talk about it. So a few notes for you before we dive in on my review of the Emax Interceptor. The first is that I have no RC car experience or background of any kind. I actually have no RC experience apart from drones of any kind. Drones had always been something that I wanted to get into. FPV was something that I, you know, that changed that for me. RC was never an option for me because I think when you're younger, especially, like, it typically kind of becomes this like a father-son kind of activity, or there's a heritage passed down from generations of doing RC, and that was never an option for me because my dad can't really see out of one eye very well, and he has no depth perception, and so RC was never something that he was interested in. So I had to wait until I was an adult and I actually had a little bit of money to start investing in things RC. So like, I just wanted to put out there, like, there is no experience with RC. I don't know what I'm comparing anything against when it comes to RC cars, and I hope that can at least let you know from like the position from which I'm approaching this entire review. But I did want to come in from the approach of a newcomer, of someone that doesn't know anything about RC cars, of someone that has a chance to introduce a lot of people to FPV and to use a tool like the Emax Interceptor as something that is a gentle introduction to first-person view and could be used in that way. So the Emax Interceptor is something that is aimed at introducing someone to FPV. Now, I want everyone to take a second and pay attention to that fact. It's aimed at someone being introduced to FPV. A bunch of you are going to come in and be like, well, my RC cars are way better than that, and you can do so much better if you spend your own money and build one from the ground up. I'm aware of that. I really am. I have one literally right there. But I never pick it up because it's a piece of junk, because I tried to pay a little bit for it and modify it and make it work, and it just doesn't. So that being said, the package that I have from Emax is their like beginner intro unit, and it comes with a pair of goggles. I mean, they're goggles, what can you say? They've got a little 18650 case with a USB charger on it, and it plugs in on the top here. And they come on, and they have race band, and there's an adjustable screen field of view. It's actually really bright. I was actually really impressed with how bright it is. It actually almost hurts my eyes a little bit. You know, change all of the settings, the channels, the frequencies. I believe it's diversity. You've got 2 antennas, but for some reason it only comes with 1. Don't fully understand that, but I like this setup. It actually feels pretty good. It wears good, and for like someone that's just getting into FPV, like, this is an option. Absolutely. You know, it's always good to have extra goggles around for ride-alongs or whatever. Now, Emax does sell this product both as a bind and roll and a ready to roll, where the ready to roll is like take everything out of the box and go. and the bind and roll means you bring your own transmitter. I actually don't know what frequency this operates on, but I would assume it's Fly Sky or FR Sky. In addition to the goggles, it comes with obviously the car, the Emax Interceptor. We'll talk about that more in a second, and their own transmitter. So you actually do get a custom, 2.4 gigahertz, I believe FR Sky, maybe Fly Sky transmitter for running cars. Now, I don't have one of these, so it was really nice to have this included. Few caveats on it. The only things that it has are steering and forwards reverse. Pretty normal for a RC car situation. There's a trim, and then there's a power switch on and off. And then at the bottom, you need 3 AA batteries. So if you get this for your niece for Christmas, be aware that you do need batteries before you can start rolling. There we go. Okay. Radio. Only thing that I've noticed about the radio that I really don't like is at one point I was doing like burnouts or something, and I made a mistake where I overcranked this just a little bit too much, and now every time I go too far, you'll hear this sound. And that's actually the steering locking completely. So this is center, and then if I go too far, it clicks and it stays. That gets annoying. Maybe there's a way to fix it, but I can, I overcranked it just a little bit, when I was like, yeah, I'm going so fast. And then I was like, oh man. So be aware, don't make the same mistake I did. So this car is toy grade. It's got 2 brushed motors in the back. It's got a rack and pinion steering wheel, and it's got a first-person view camera. It goes 25 to 200 milliwatts. If you pop off the canopy, which I do very carefully, you can see kind of what's going on under the hood. It's a great little canopy, hasn't worn out yet, which I'm really stoked about because that's something I've always noticed with other friends' RC cars. And you've got a first-person view camera. That's just the analog camera, and then the wires go down into the VTX, which you can see is exposed right there. There's a button that lets you change channels. You've got race band as well as a couple of the other ones, as well as 25 to 200 milliwatts output. Then there's a USB port right in there, and that USB port you plug in to charge the battery that sits in the battery bank down below. So it comes with this teensy teensy little screwdriver, super duper cute, and that works for the screw in the bottom as well as others to open up the battery bay, which I'm doing right now. And you'll see that in here is a little 1S 3 amp hour battery, sorry, 0.3 amp hour battery, and it's got some electronics built into the battery that are, I assume, resistors that push back the amount of power that you can push out. This will fit like a normal size tiny whoop battery, so like to be able to, like, I don't remember what that connector is. It's like the new version of the connector, but you can plug that in here. And on the tiny whoop batteries with leads on it, this lead is a little bit short to fit it inside. So like you can see that there's no way for me to like bend it in there. But if you get a battery with a lead on the end of it, it will fit into that bay. But these 2550 milliamp hour tiny whoop batteries are just a little bit too long. We did find that using a battery with a higher C output, like just a nicer tiny whoop battery, made for a much better driving experience. This car is a little underpowered. Like I said, it's toy grade. There's no way around that. It's not made for super advanced users. It's not made for people that are trying to, crush the, speed records. It's for people that want to just have some fun. Let me find that screw before I lose it. So again, I want to come back to that point of like, yes, there's going to be a bunch of you guys that are like, yeah, you can make one that's so much better for so much less dollars. But this is so easy, right? It's out of the box. It's ready to go. It's got race band. It's got 25 or 200 milliwatts. It comes with a radio. For people like me that don't want to fiddle with something that's not drones, because I already spent enough time fiddling with drones for my day job, I want to just plug it in and go. And that is the power of the Emax Interceptor. Bind and run version of this, so you just get the car, no radio, no goggles, comes in at, I believe, $56. And the ready to roll version comes in at $96. So that comes with the goggles, the radio, the drone, not drone, but whatever, car thing. Officially, this is a 1/24th scale. Some people, I know what that means. I don't. I know I've driven an 8th scale before for fun. I think that means of like, you know, dividing the bigness of a car, but doesn't matter to me. In my playing around with the car, it obviously works a lot better on smooth surfaces. I guess that would be true for any kind of RC car. But like this one, if I take it out in the driveway, which is just a little bit more rough than like the garage floor or out into the street, like it really starts to rock around it. You can't see what's going on through the FPV camera because it's a tiny little camera and any amount of shake and it's just all over the place. So, you're going to aim for smooth surfaces, but that's okay because this is a 1/24th scale, I believe, is really more aimed at like indoors, in the house, cruising around the kitchen, cruising around the garage, whatever. Okay, I've already been going on for way too long, so let's take a break and have Kylo chase my car around the living room with a GoPro strapped to it. So alongside of all of the things that I really liked about it, the features, all of that stuff, there are some downsides, some things that did not work for me. And one of the things that I don't like about it the most so far is that not a lot of people have them. Like, I want everybody to have one of these, like everybody has a tiny whoop. I want to be ripping them around bars. I want to be ripping them around the house. I want to have like little RC car battles, first person view, racing around like freaking Lewis Hamilton, just like, yeah, kid, he takes them on the inside, oh my gosh. First of all, I have two big fluffy German Shepherds, and German Shepherds, also known as German Shredders or Shedders, I guess both, leave a lot of hair. And the Emax Interceptor definitely picks that up, starts to get wound up in the motors, and eventually it just seizes and gives up. So that gets pretty obnoxious, so I always like have to vacuum before I do it. But again, if I take it out in the garage or take it somewhere else, not a problem whatsoever. But if you have dogs, something to consider. For me, something that that was kind of annoying that I don't really understand why happened, but the rear shocks actually fell off on mine. So there's supposed to be some friction shocks to keep this in place. This is just gravity letting this down. Yeah, so the shocks will eventually fall off, and that, you know, it doesn't really affect anything because the car still drives fine. It would probably make the camera a little bit less jiggly in like rougher environments. But I mean, as far as I can tell, it's still working great. So just something to be aware of. Something that kind of seemed silly to me for the amount of cameras that are available on the market that have it is that this does not have voltage monitoring. You think it'd be really easy to have a voltage monitor in the bottom left corner of the screen that is coming off of the power that's going into the camera, but that was not given to us as an option, so you don't know how much battery is left when you're going to run out. The car just stops moving after a while. You know, I guess that's not really a bad thing, but like I'd like to know when I plug it in if I'm, you know, almost dead, if I'm almost full, if I'm full, etc. And then again, the only other really the only downside that I've come across is that clicky issue with the transmitter. When I overcranked it, I accidentally broke that transmitter, and so now I have to be really careful not to do it or go past that point. It's, you know, that's totally my fault. That's on me for having overdone it. But before you go in and start like just be aware that there is a potential to break that thing, and you'll just be sad. So in conclusion of all of this, I just want to say, like, again, coming back to the beginning, like this thing has just made me happy. Like, I've had a lot of fun with it. I'm building courses in the garage. I'm having the dog chase it around. I'm giving it, like, even to my father-in-law to let him try out FPV, which is not something he was interested in doing with drones, but with a little RC car, he was all about it. the whole point of this thing is to introduce people to FPV, and it's to give you kind of this chance of exploring the world around you in a different way. And I think that for the money and for the simplicity, that this is doing an excellent job. So for me, I love my Emax Interceptor. I'm going to keep driving it around until it dies or I die or whatever. I'm going to consider investing a little bit more, continuing to upgrade things like that. I'd like to get some better equipment and continue to play around with RC cars because I'm having a lot of fun with it. But for now, for me, for someone that is experienced with drones but knows nothing about the rest of RC, this is a perfect first step. So thanks to Emax for sending this out, letting me play around with it. I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. I had a lot of fun building that course and doing like the green screen steering wheel and all that stuff. Yeah, so I hope that this was engaging and interesting. I hope that you learned at least whether or not you were interested in something like this. And I hope that you stay flying.